Hello and welcome to our podcast episode number 19. A hilarious journey through time, space, and paradoxes. I am Thomas, and as always, here with me, my friend Tim. Today, we are going to talk about a film called Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel. Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel is a 2009 British comedy science fiction film about Ray, Pete, and Toby, who go to a pub after losing their job, where they meet Cassie, who warns them of time leaks caused by editors. After experiencing a post-apocalyptic version of the pub, they try to stop Millie from killing them at their finest hour. The film features time travel, alternate realities, and self-aware humor. So, Tim, what's your take on frequently asked questions about time travel?
Well, Thomas, I must say that while some aspects of the film were mildly entertaining, it ultimately left me feeling disappointed and confused. The premise itself is intriguing enough. A group of friends encountering time travel and alternate realities in their local pub. But unfortunately, the execution falls short in many ways.
Oh, come on, Tim. You always complain about British comedies being too complicated. I thought it was quite refreshing to see a film that tried something different within the genre. Besides, what did you expect? It's not like they had a huge budget or anything.
Yes, well, I suppose you have a point there, Thomas. Still, I couldn't help but feel like some of the jokes fell flat and that the plot became increasingly convoluted as the film progressed. And don't even get me started on the ending. It was just downright baffling.
Now you see, that's where you missed the point, Tim. The whole point of the film was to explore the paradoxes and complexities of time travel through a humorous lens. If you're looking for a straightforward narrative with clear explanations, then this movie might not be for you. But if you're willing to suspend your disbelief and just go along for the ride, I think you'll find it quite enjoyable.
Well, Thomas, if you insist on trying to make sense of such nonsense, let's talk about the plot then. The film follows Ray, Pete, and Toby as they navigate their way through a series of time travel mishaps after meeting Cassie in their local pub. They encounter alternate realities, including one where the world has been destroyed by editors, characters who seemingly exist to kill famous artists at their peak. This all seems rather convoluted and hard to follow, if you ask me.
I agree that it's not your typical straightforward plotline, but that's what makes it so interesting. It's a film that plays with genre conventions and expectations, while still managing to deliver some laughs along the way. And let's be honest, Tim, sometimes it's nice to just sit back and enjoy a film that doesn't take itself too seriously.
I suppose you have a point there, Thomas. But what about the characters? Did you find any of them particularly memorable or well-developed?
Well, now that's where frequently asked questions about time travel really shines. Each character has their own unique quirks and personalities that contribute to the overall charm of the film. Ray is the reluctant hero who finds himself caught up in this bizarre situation. Pete is the more level-headed one, who tries his best to make sense of everything. And Toby, well, he's just kind of there for comic relief most of the time, but still manages to provide some valuable insights into the plot. And then there's Cassie, the mysterious American girl with a penchant for time travel who adds an interesting dynamic to their group.
I suppose you have a point about the characters being entertaining enough in themselves. However, I still feel like the overall storyline could have been executed better. It seems like they were trying too hard to cram as many time travel tropes and references into the film without really giving any of him enough time to develop properly.
Fair enough, Tim. But let's not forget that this is a comedy first and foremost, and sometimes you need to sacrifice depth for laughs. And speaking of laughs, there were plenty of moments in frequently asked questions about time travel where I found myself chuckling, or even outright laughing. More than I expected from a British comedy about time travel.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Tom. Personally, I think they could have done better with the film's tone and pacing. It felt like they were trying to be too clever with the humor at times, which made it difficult for me to connect with the characters or the story. But hey, that's just my opinion.
Indeed, it is, Tim. And now that we've discussed the film quite thoroughly, I think it's safe to say that while frequently asked questions about time travel may not be for everyone, it does have its moments of brilliance hidden beneath all those paradoxes and time travel shenanigans. So, if you're in the mood for a quirky British comedy with a sci-fi twist, give this one a go. Oh, I almost forgot about the soundtrack, Tim. It was actually quite good, quirky, and fitting for the film's overall tone. There were some great musical numbers throughout the movie that added another layer of humor and entertainment to the mix. My personal favorite was when they performed Back to the Future during their karaoke scene in the alternate timeline pub.
Well, I'm glad someone enjoyed it, Thomas. Personally, I found the music to be a bit too distracting at times. It felt like they were trying too hard to make every scene feel important or meaningful with its choice of song. But then again, maybe that was part of the film's charm. Who knows?
You might have a point there, Tim. However, I think it just goes to show how well crafted this movie is. Even the soundtrack can spark a lively debate amongst fans like ourselves. And speaking of which, what do you think about the overall message behind frequently asked questions about time travel?
That's an interesting question, Tom. I suppose one could argue that the film is exploring themes of fate, free will, and the butterfly effect, how small changes in the past can have massive consequences down the line. But ultimately, it feels more like a vehicle for delivering laughs than any profound statement about time travel or life itself.
Well, said Tim. And now that we've covered everything from characters to soundtrack and even the deeper meaning behind frequently asked questions about time travel, what would be your final verdict on this film? Would you recommend it to others who share our love for all things British comedy and time travel related?
After much consideration, I have to say that while there were some enjoyable moments throughout the movie, frequently asked questions about time travel ultimately fell short in delivering a cohesive or satisfying narrative experience. So if you're looking for a groundbreaking film about time travel with flawless storytelling and characters, I would say this might not be the best choice. However, if you're in the mood for a lighthearted comedy that doesn't take itself too seriously and doesn't require much investment from its audience, then it could be worth giving it a shot. Just don't expect too much.
Well, said Tim, and since we're on the subject of the actors, let's talk about the performances in frequently asked questions about time travel. I think the cast did a pretty decent job considering the material they had to work with. Chris O'Dowd as Ray and Dean Lennox Kelly as Pete were particularly enjoyable to watch. Their on-screen chemistry helped carry the film through some of its more convoluted moments. Anna Faris, who played Cassie, also delivered a solid performance despite her character being somewhat underdeveloped. As for the rest of the cast, they all brought something unique to their roles and seemed to be having fun with the material, which added an extra layer of charm to the film.
Agreed, Thomas. The actors did a great job of balancing comedy and drama throughout the movie. It's always nice to see British comedians like Chris O'Dowd and Dean Lennox Kelly get to showcase their range in roles like these. And Anna Faris was a surprisingly good choice for the mysterious Cassie. She brought an air of intrigue and vulnerability that helped humanize her character despite all the time travel shenanigans going on around them. The rest of the cast, including Mark Wootton as Toby and Lee Ross as Neil, also did a fantastic job in their roles. They each had their moments to shine and provided some much-needed comic relief during the film's more intense scenes.
So there you have it, folks. Despite its flaws, Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel is an entertaining British comedy with a unique take on the time travel genre. It might not be for everyone, but if you're in the mood for some laughs and a bit of mindless fun, then this film might just be what you're looking for. What do you think our listeners should take away from our discussion today, Tim? Any final words of wisdom about frequently asked questions about time travel or time travel films in general?
Well, Tom, I think the most important thing to remember when watching any film, but especially one like frequently asked questions about time travel, is to approach it with an open mind and a willingness to suspend your disbelief. Sometimes movies are just meant to be enjoyed for what they are, a bit of escapism from our everyday lives. So if you're in the mood for some lighthearted fun with a sci-fi twist, give this film a chance. And who knows, you might even find yourself laughing along with us as we navigate through the complexities of AM time travel and British comedy.
Well, said Tim, and speaking of the film's direction, I have to give credit where it's due. Gareth Karivic did a fantastic job of balancing all the elements in frequently asked questions about time travel. The pacing was spot on. He knew exactly when to slow things down for some character development and when to ramp up the action or comedy. His use of visual effects also deserves a mention. They were just enough to enhance the story without becoming overwhelming or distracting from what was happening on screen.
Absolutely, Tom. The direction really made this film stand out among other British comedies about time travel. Karivic did an excellent job of keeping things fresh and engaging throughout, even when the plot could have easily become convoluted or confusing for viewers. His handling of tone was particularly impressive. He managed to blend humor with drama seamlessly without ever feeling like one overpowered the other. A delicate balance that few directors can achieve successfully in films like these.
And let's not forget about the screenplay itself. Jamie Mathieson did an incredible job of adapting this story from page to screen. The dialogue was snappy and witty, with just enough pop culture references and time travel jokes to keep things entertaining without ever feeling forced or contrived. His handling of character development was also spot on. Each character had their own unique arc that added depth and richness to the overall narrative.
Indeed, Tom. The screenplay for frequently asked questions about time travel is one of its strongest assets. It manages to balance humor with heart, keeping viewers invested in the characters' journeys while still delivering plenty of laugh out loud moments along the way. Mathieson's understanding of how time travel works within the context of this story was also quite impressive. He managed to create a believable system for it without getting bogged down in overly technical explanations or jargon that might have alienated some viewers.
And last but not least, let's talk about the soundtrack. As I mentioned earlier, it was quirky and fitting for the film's overall tone. It added another layer of humor and entertainment to an already enjoyable movie watching experience. Some of my personal favorites included tracks from the Proclaimers, Bell, and even a little bit of The Clash thrown into the mix. The use of music in frequently asked questions about time travel really elevated certain scenes or moments where otherwise they might have fallen flat due to their more comedic nature.
I couldn't agree more, Tom. The soundtrack was definitely one of my favorite aspects of this film as well. It perfectly encapsulated the quirky British indie vibe that permeated throughout frequently asked questions about time travel while also providing some much-needed emotional depth during certain scenes or character moments. And like you said before, it even managed to spark a lively debate among fans like ourselves. Another testament to its effectiveness within the context of this film's narrative and themes.
Well, said Tim, overall, I think frequently asked questions about time travel is an underrated gem in the world of British comedy films about time travel. While it may not be perfect by any means, no film ever is. Its strengths far outweigh its weaknesses. If you're looking for a light-hearted romp through space and time with some memorable characters and plenty of laughs along the way, then I highly recommend giving this one a watch.
Well, Tom, I have to say that while frequently asked questions about time travel might not be a groundbreaking film in terms of its cultural impact on the time travel genre or British comedy as a whole, it does have its fair share of fans and admirers. The unique blend of humor, heart, and mind-bending plot twists seems to resonate with audiences who appreciate films that challenge their perceptions of reality while still providing ample opportunities for laughter and escapism. In fact, the film's cult following has even spawned a number of fan theories and speculations about the true nature of its time travel mechanics and characters' motivations. This level of engagement from viewers is a testament to the film's lasting appeal and the enduring fascination we all share for the concept of time travel itself. One area where frequently asked questions about time travel does seem to have made an impact, albeit a small one, is in popular culture. The film's catchphrases like "go back to the future and don't stand too close to the time machine" have found their way into everyday conversations among fans and non-fans alike. And who could forget the iconic image of Chris O'Dowd dancing to Back to the Future during that karaoke scene? It's safe to say that this film has left an indelible mark on those who have witnessed its peculiar charms firsthand.
Surely, Tim. And speaking of cultural impact, I think it would be interesting for our listeners to know about some of the references and homages. Frequently asked questions about time travel pays tribute to within the time travel genre itself. For example, there's an obvious nod to Back to the Future with Ray and Pete's obsession with the DeLorean time machine and their attempts at recreating it in their own garage. And let's not forget about the time loop plot device borrowed from films like Groundhog Day or Edge of Tomorrow, which adds an extra layer of complexity to the narrative. But perhaps one of my favorite references is how they managed to sneak in a nod towards Looper, another cult classic time travel movie with Cassie's cryptic warning about closing the loop at one point during their journey. These subtle homages show that frequently asked questions about time travel isn't just content with being a standalone comedy. It also recognizes its place within the broader context of time travel cinema and embraces its connections to these other beloved films.
Well said, Tom. It's clear that this film takes pride in its roots within the time travel genre while still managing to carve out its own unique identity. And speaking of connections, I can't help but think about how frequently asked questions about time travel might have influenced other works in both cinema and television since its release. While it may not have spawned any direct sequels or spin-offs, it's easy to see how its quirky blend of comedy and drama could have inspired creators working on similar projects over the years. One particular TV show that comes to mind is the beloved British sci-fi sitcom Red Dwarf. While frequently asked questions about time travel isn't necessarily a direct influence on Red Dwarf, they do share some similarities in terms of their tone and approach towards time, travel, as well as their use of humor within a science fiction context. It's fascinating to think about how these two works might have influenced each other, if only indirectly, over the years since their respective releases.
That's an interesting connection, Tim. And speaking of influences, let's not forget about frequently asked questions about time travel's impact on the British comedy scene as a whole. While it might not have been a massive blockbuster hit when it first released, its unique blend of genre elements and social commentary has undoubtedly paved the way for other filmmakers and comedians to explore similar themes in their own work. One area where I think we can see frequently asked questions about time, travel's legacy is in the rise of more character-driven comedies that don't shy away from tackling deeper issues within their stories. The films focus on relationships, personal growth, and self-discovery amidst all the time travel chaos has inspired a new generation of writers and directors to take similar risks with their own projects. And who knows? Perhaps in another decade or two, we'll see another podcast like ours discussing frequently asked questions about time travel.
Well, Tom, as we come to the end of our discussion about frequently asked questions about time travel, it's clear that this film has left quite an impression on us both. While it might not be perfect by any means, its unique blend of aim, humor, and heart, combined with a clever take on time travel tropes, makes it a standout in the world of British comedy films. And who knows? Perhaps there's room for a sequel or spin-off somewhere down the line that explores some of the unanswered questions left by the first film.
I couldn't agree more, Tim. Frequently asked questions about time travel is definitely one of those underrated gems that deserves a second look, or perhaps even a first. Look for those who haven't had the chance to experience it yet. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but for those who appreciate its quirky charm and offbeat sensibilities, I can guarantee you won't be disappointed. And if you are one of our faithful listeners out there, we hope that you've enjoyed our discussion as much as we have. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like this video. We love hearing from our audience. Until next time, remember, always travel safely through time and don't stand too close to the TARDIS.